Everyone sees that loss and reaches the same conclusion. UConn cannot go 40-0 next season. I ran the numbers. And the numbers say the exact opposite. That defeat might be the final ingredient this team needed. Not because embarrassment magically wins championships, but because UConn returns the best player in America, nearly 79% of its rebounding, and a statistical profile that already looks frighteningly similar to an undefeated national champion. This is not fan fiction. This is the analytics autopsy.
Prime Field.
Today we are putting the 40-0 prediction on trial. First, we will measure how dominant UConn actually was during its 38-game winning streak. Then we will compare this team directly with the last undefeated UConn champion. After that, we have to answer the Azzi Fudd question, examine why Sarah Strong and KK Arnold could form the perfect two-way engine, and identify every game capable of destroying this prediction. And yes, we are going to make the strongest possible case against UConn before delivering the final verdict. Because saying UConn is talented is easy. Proving that perfection is statistically realistic is much harder. UConn scored 3,387 points last season and allowed only 1,966. That is a total point differential of +1, 421. Across 39 games, the Huskies averaged 86.8 points, allowed 50.4, and defeated opponents by an average of 36.4 points per game. Think about what that means. UConn could become 15 points worse overnight and still possess the average scoring margin of an elite national title contender. And the conference numbers were even more ridiculous. During the 20-game Big East regular season, UConn outscored its opponents by 823 points, an average margin of 41.15 points. After adding 3 conference tournament victories, the Huskies went 23-0 against Big East competition with an average margin of approximately 41.6 points. That margin is insurance against ordinary basketball chaos. A cold shooting quarter, usually survivable. A star in foul trouble, usually survivable. 5 extra turnovers, usually survivable. Of course, margins cannot protect a team from everything. South Carolina proved that one elite opponent can combine physical defense, matchup advantage, and a historically poor UConn shooting performance into one devastating night. But that was the exception. UConn scored fewer than 63 points once. All season. That one game happened to end the season. Against South Carolina, UConn shot 19 for 61 at just 31.1%. Its season average was 51.5%. That is a collapse of more than 20 percentage points. From 3, UConn went 6 for 21. The Huskies reached the free throw line only 6 times. They scored 9 points in the fourth quarter and lost the second half 38-23. Was that an extreme shooting outlier? Absolutely. Was it only bad luck? No. South Carolina's pressure denied the easy actions, reduced transition opportunities, and forced UConn to create latent possessions. The Gamecocks found the conditions necessary to turn a historic offense into a 48-point offense. But here's where the revenge tour thesis becomes real. UConn now has an entire offseason to study through the only defensive blueprint that worked. That loss exposed exactly what must improve. Late clock creation, physical rebounding, free throw generation, and offensive organization when the first action gets erased. The scoreboard was painful. It was also a free tactical report. The clean historical benchmark is UConn's 2015-16 team, not the 2014-15 team, which finished 38-1. The 2015-16 Huskies went 38-0. They averaged 88.1 points and won by 39.7 per game. Last season's UConn team averaged 86.8 points and won by 36.4. The undefeated team shot 53% from the field. The current group shot 51.5%. The undefeated team averaged 21.6 assists. Last season's team averaged 21. This is not a loose comparison. The profiles are remarkably close, and the modern Huskies actually held 2 major advantages. The 2015-16 team made 7.8 threes per game. Last season's team made 9.2. The undefeated champions averaged 11.8 steals. Last season's Huskies averaged approximately 13.1. So no, this roster has not proved it is better than the Breanna Stewart championship machine. The older team was more efficient overall, protected the rim better, and maintained a scoring margin approximately 3 points higher. But the new team already lived in the same statistical neighborhood, and unlike a roster attempting to construct greatness from scratch, UConn is building forward from a 38-1 foundation. UConn loses Azzi Fudd, Sarah Williams, and Caroline Ducharme. Together they accounted for 963 of the team's 3,387 points. That means UConn projects to return approximately 71.6% of its scoring. On the glass, it returns roughly 78.6% of its rebounding. Those are strong continuity numbers, but they require context. Azzi Fudd was not just another 673 points. She made 117 threes at 44.7%. She provided movement shooting, defensive gravity, and the ability to rescue possessions when the offense stopped flowing. You do not simply hand those responsibilities to one player and declare the problem solved. The replacement must happen by committee. Ali Zabel shot 41.1% from 3. Sarah Strong shot 40.4%. Blanca Kenyanes shot 39.5%. Kaylee Heckel shot 38.3%. Ashlyn Shade already has experience carrying high-volume perimeter responsibility, while incoming guard Maureen Dursis gives Geno Auriemma another natural scorer. The question is not whether UConn can recover 673 total points. With this much talent, it probably can. The real question is whether those shooters maintain their efficiency after receiving greater volume and more defensive attention. That is the largest unresolved variable in the entire 40-0 prediction. Sarah Strong averaged 18.4 points, 7.7 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 3.4 steals, and 1.6 blocks while playing only 27.4 minutes per game. She shot 58.2% overall, 40.4% from 3 and 83.3% from the line. And she swept the major National Player of the Year awards. Now she enters next season as a junior. How exactly do you guard a player who can punish a center from the perimeter, overpower a wing inside, pass over double teams, and create transition opportunities on defense? You do not eliminate Sarah Strong. You choose which version of the damage you are willing to accept, then place KK Arnold next to her. Arnold recorded 174 assists, 102 steals, and only 43 turnovers. That is a 4.05 assist-to-turnover ratio, a UConn single-season record. Strong controls matchups. Arnold controls possessions. Together they combined for 234 steals, while giving UConn an elite scoring hub and one of the safest primary decision-makers in college basketball. The next step is obvious. Arnold must become enough of a scoring threat that defenses cannot comfortably abandon her to overload Strong. If she adds a dependable pull-up, corner three, or downhill finishing package without sacrificing her decision-making, the entire floor changes. The formula is not Strong wins every game alone. It is Strong's versatility, Arnold's organization, and enough shooting to punish every defensive compromise. Now let us steelman the doubters. Argument number 1. They scored 48 when it mattered most. Valid. South Carolina did not beat UConn in a meaningless November game. It shut the Huskies down in a national semifinal. But 131.1% shooting performance does not erase a 39-game profile. Verdict. A legitimate matchup warning, not proof of a fatal flaw. Argument number 2. They cannot replace Azzi Fudd. Also valid. The aggregate points can be replaced. Her precise combination of shooting gravity and late clock creation remains unproven. Verdict. Answerable, but not yet solved. Argument number 3. The Big East cannot prepare UConn for March. There is truth there. Winning conference games by more than 41 points does not create many late-game pressure possessions. But UConn scheduled Michigan, Iowa, Louisville, South Carolina, Duke, and Maryland before December ends. Verdict. The conference may be soft, but the total schedule is not. Argument number 4. One injury destroys everything. Correct. No honest prediction can guarantee health, especially for Strong or Arnold. UConn has insurance through Kenyanes, Jana El Alfi, and elite 6'4" freshman Olivia Vicosa, but depth does not make stars interchangeable. Verdict. Unavoidable risk. Argument number 5. The coaching change damages continuity. Jamel Elliott's departure matters. 18 seasons of program knowledge cannot be dismissed. But Geno Auriemma and Chris Daly still define the system, with Morgan Valley and Tanya Cardoza bringing deep UConn familiarity. Verdict. Meaningful change, stable foundation. The prediction could be tested immediately. November 5th at Michigan. A true road opener against a team that nearly erased UConn's lead in their previous meeting. New offensive roles, a hostile environment, and no regular season rhythm. November 8th, Iowa. Only 3 days later. The danger is not just Iowa's movement and shooting. It is the compressed preparation window after returning from Michigan. November 15th at Louisville. Another hostile road game against pressure, athleticism, and a program comfortable turning games chaotic. November 25th, South Carolina at Mohegan Sun. This is the audit. Did UConn solve the physicality? Can it create when Strong is aggressively covered? Can it generate free throws when the jumpers stop falling? South Carolina owns the blueprint. UConn owns months to develop a counterattack. November 28th, Duke at TD Garden. 3 days after the emotional revenge game, UConn must reset against another long physical defense. That may be the most dangerous scheduling spot of the season. December 5th, Maryland at Barclays Center. By then, every opponent will possess film of UConn's post-FUD offense. Maryland gets the opportunity to attack whatever weakness remains unresolved. This is not an easy road. It is a manufactured gauntlet. And if UConn survives December undefeated, the conversation changes from preseason fantasy to historic pursuit. Here's my prediction. UConn enters the South Carolina game undefeated. It survives the revenge matchup because its offense produces more counters, attacks the foul line, and refuses to let one defender erase the first action. It then survives Duke despite the short turnaround. By January, the Huskies are no longer discussing whether 40-0 is possible. They are carrying the pressure of being expected to achieve it. Will UConn actually finish undefeated? I cannot call it guaranteed. One injury, one brutal shooting night, or one opponent perfectly equipped to shrink the floor can end everything, but the prediction is analytically defensible. A plus 36.4 scoring margin, nearly 72% of the offense returning. Almost 79% of the rebounding returning, the consensus best player in America. A record-setting point guard, multiple proven shooters. And an early schedule designed to expose weaknesses before March. That 62-48 loss does not prove UConn cannot be perfect. It gave the Huskies a list of every reason they were not perfect, and an entire season to correct it. That is why I am putting the prediction on the table. UConn has a legitimate path to 40-0. Now I want your prediction. Vote in the comments. Does UConn finish 40-0, lose once during the non-conference gauntlet, or reach March undefeated before finally falling? And identify the one opponent most likely to end the streak. Subscribe to Prime Field for year-round UConn analysis, because when this pursuit begins, we are tracking every number, every warning sign, and every step toward history.
Prime Field.